Hi y'all, and welcome to Bridging the Gap. I'm Ian Hansen, along with intuitive medium and spiritual advisor Brenda Burgett. Brenda, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Our first opportunity to wish all of you the same thing. We made it to 2013.
We did.
We talked about this in one of our episodes down the home stretch, right before the Mayan calendar went into its 13th Baktun, and all is well.
All is well.
You think maybe they meant Bakteen, just by chance? Like we're numb from the last 400 years, now we're just going to start all over again? Or?
Probably.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we made it. That means that you and I have a chance to hang out some more and talk about stuff, cool stuff.
Cool stuff. Very cool stuff.
Pretty big stuff to start the year, too. I was left up to determine what exactly we're going to talk about today, so I've determined that, and what we're going to discuss today, Brenda, is something that I was watching a program about just recently, and it sort of made me think maybe we should talk about this on Bridging the Gap soon, and why not today? That's the God gap, I suppose. Science is creeping ever closer to thinking that it's going to be able to explain absolutely positively the existence of every single thing in our known universe and beyond, and yet it seems like when we get down to one pivotal aspect of, okay, but where did all of it come from in the first place, it's still very difficult for them to tackle. So I think we're going to tackle that today and just discuss it.
Do you think we'll figure it out?
I hope we don't, because I would not want to live in a world where everything was known, would you?
No.
That might be a good place for us to start, actually. I think that's one of the things that keeps us going and would keep any creature going, no matter how amazingly intelligent or technologically advanced it would be. It has to have some reason to live, and that reason might actually be to continue on towards the discovery of where it may have come from. Or maybe to just get okay with the fact that it doesn't have to know where it came from, and it can just lavish in its own
I
existence.
think human beings are probably the only one that worries about or thinks about a lot. Aren't they? Do you think that an animal will actually agonize over whether something is true or not, or, except that maybe is the biscuit in this store or is it in that one? That might be the extent of it.
I'm not sure.
I don't think so. I know that I've never run into it, and I do a lot of animal work. I don't think they care. They have faith that something's going to be there. They have their instincts. They have things that get them where they're going. They don't seem to worry about a lot of the other things.
Yeah, I want to thank Professor Pavlov for making it so much easier for me to choose which brand of underwear to buy during the Christmas season, too, because he is fully responsible for the reason why all advertisers know exactly where to hit you. So, if you haven't done a lot of research on him, you know about his dogs, right? And all the drooling that went on. Well, just think about all of the American investors in the advertising world who sort of paid attention to his research. It really turned things around in that way. That's for another show, though. So, Brenda, we also have some questions to address. They've been filing in, and we'll get to as many of these as possible. We may touch on our subject for today, which is a rather large one, for a brief time, or we may take the whole program to do it. I'm not sure.
Let's just see where it goes.
Where's the basis for this, is my first question, I guess, Brenda, for us to discuss, and for maybe you to figure out for yourself. Do you have a pretty good handle on where you think you may have come from? Does it matter to you all that much? Some people born into organized religions or structured belief systems, faiths, will have that defined for them, I think, unfortunately, at an early age. Maybe they would have decided that for themselves as it was, so good. Other people search for it their whole lives. When do we start thinking about where we come from, and why does it become important to us?
Well, I had a minister say to me once that inside every human being is a void that can be filled only by God, Source. When we are in organized religion, which I was at one time, there is almost a compulsion sometimes to convince people that you're right, and so that everybody will go to the same place in the end. It's just the way it is. When I left that, I didn't care anymore where I thought it came from until a lot of other things were resolved in my mind, like who I was, and I'm still trying to figure that one out, who I am.
I think that's part of bridging the gap, trying to figure out who all of us are, where we come from, where we might be going.
What my purpose is, where I'm going, the basic things, like at the age I am now, it's like the 18-year-old, who am I going to be when I grow up, if I choose to grow up. Now I have time. I want to know more. I don't need all of the answers, but I am more open, like I think you are, to different possibilities. Were there aliens had actually mixed with the inhabitants of the earth to progress it. I don't see why not. I don't know that. But I mean, I'm a lot more open to at least hear what other people have to say about it. Does my life depend on knowing? No.
Okay, and that's another key component of this, too. Give you an idea of where we both started from as well. Brenda, of course, got that wonderful bit of wisdom bestowed upon her by a preacher saying that God is there for that void that's in our soul or our heart. And all that was said to me as a kid when I was a preacher was, "You are blocking my parking space. Will you please move the Trans Am, young man? Thank you." So.
And don't make a lot of noise as you leave the church area. This was a wonderful man. I owe him a lot. He was a great man.
Yeah, I'm taking, again, nothing away from, I've never known any rabbis, and I think I've always wanted to, but having been born in a pocket of the West Coast where Judaism is almost non-existent, and it's like some foreign thing that is in fictional accounts more than anything that might be in our realistic world, I've known a lot of religious men, and a lot of people, men of the cloth, I could say, and they impressed me. I mean, I think I had a little bit of an aversion to people who were in structured faiths because I was raised to be so open-minded from the time I was born. But after I got a little more open-minded to them and realized that they weren't bad guys, they were here just trying to figure it out the same as we all are in some ways, although they have their system and routines defined a bit more than maybe I do and some other people do. I realized that they were really neat people because that's what their job is. And when you think about it, what a cool job to ponder those things and then share your thoughts and invite the thoughts of others with your congregation. I love the idea. I just am not sure that maybe some of the antiquitous things that are involved in it are for me. I think maybe it's time we had a revival, maybe a little bit of a change in it. But that's kind of what we're here to do.
Let's so attend it. We'll take a van up my snowy hill and we'll have an old-fashioned Southern tent revival.
And we've got to have a neat icon, too, for all of our flags and branding. And I think I picked out one that I'm not liking all of a sudden because of the connection that it may draw to Jim Jones from the 79 or 78 Jonestown Massacre. Yeah, it was Purplesaurus Rex, which is a great Kool-Aid flavor that they've since retired. But I think that's probably out of the question. So, Brenda, on the rung of thinking about where we come from, you mentioned aliens. And I guess I'll sort of default to this program since this is where I got the inspiration to talk about this today. And they really mentioned 3 different ideas or platforms for where our perceived birth in the universe may have come from, or the universe itself being thought of or born or constructed may have come from. One is from science, purely and basically everything is a mathematical equation, and Stephen Hawking came out with a thing in his book, I know recently, that was supposed to have given new light on how all of this could have just mathematically decided to happen. Again, that's for science's wing. Then there's the theologian's wing, which talks about the fact that there is a grand creator somewhere along the rung. Even if science fits in the equation, someone had to invent science, someone had to invent math, something had to have thought of all of this to get it going. And that touched a little bit on the Hindi beliefs and how far back those stretch about, are we the dreams of gods ourselves, or are gods the dreams of us? Which is a really neat thing because it goes both ways and implies that cycle that never ends. The last one, and I felt it kind of strange that they would separate this from those two, was the alien theory. Are we the creation of something so incredibly technologically advanced that when we meet them or are allowed to meet them by our own coming along spiritually, or however you want to define it in the universe, will we then be handed this levy of knowledge that will tell us everything, and they will be able to explain it to us. 3 different thoughts they had. You just touched on one of them. What about the other 2? And I guess all 3 wrote together.
I think they do. I think they have to be. There has to be some common ground in every line of thinking. When I said something about a God void, when people get in trouble, they're sad, the first thing they think about is help from above. And whether they actually know they believe in God or not, that's what they do. They ask for help, they ask for guidance, they ask for protection. We do have, I think, I totally believe in source God. I believe, I'm not sure of all of it. I know what I need to know for now, and I'll know more when I need it. But it's a free will thing. It's not in my lifetime anyway. I like to think that aliens had something to do with it. That's fun.
Yeah.
That's fun for me.
I think we're starting to find out through some physical evidence that may very well have been a probability. And I don't see what the problem with that is myself. I think that's pretty fascinating. But it certainly doesn't end there, because they have to have come from someplace, and then whatever made them has to have come from someplace, and so on and so forth. So
You and I both know someone that has gray-like
oh,
characteristics.
well, they don't have gray-like characteristics. It's not like you go get your hair done and, you know, honey, you look an awful lot like a gray. I mean, I'm not saying anything, but you know, you really should do something with your scalp because it's all shiny. And I think she is a gray, personally. But what I'm thinking was absent from all of this, Brenda, was the discussion that there's sort of a wall up between all of these factions, that one of them, I mean, I don't think the show meant to imply this, but I think it hit me that it meant to imply that, well, one of these three things has to be right, so which door will she choose when we come back from the break? I think it's a nice melding of all three, is it not? And probably even more that we haven't even had the opportunity to fathom yet, because we don't know very much about our universe. We are just now starting to probe scientifically, and are advancing at the same time, I think, in our theological angle because of science. I mean, science is erasing a few things that, no, that doesn't make a lot of sense anymore, but it opens up a whole new idea from the theological aspect, while at the same time defining something in our physical universe. And I think that that's really cool. I think the one side of it gets lost quite often, but you know, if we were created by something or someone, then maybe a good question, why would whatever that thing is create anything but what would bow down and pray to it? Why would it create something that was thinking that math was responsible for all of this, and that our physical universe has all these laws and everything can be explained? I think it would certainly want that in there because it's a part of it, but I don't know.
I don't know. I remember the part of the Conversation with God book when God was asked, why did you create us? And he said, because I am perfect. I have nothing new to feel, nothing new, whatever. Therefore I created man so I can experience what it'd be like living a human life. And so therefore nothing you do is wrong. Nothing you do is really right. And that gets into a whole new conversation that we're not going to go to right now.
Well, we could, but
no, I don't want to get into that.
Folks on the East Coast are up late, and I'm looking at something that isn't even a watch, so I should tell you how late it is here. What does it say anyway?
What does the bracelet say?
Let me see, what does this one say? It says, to Sam from, that's a pawn shop deal. I don't know. So. You know, I was given an empty gift card for Christmas by a relative. An empty gift card. I love it. It was awesome. It was a great gift.
It's the thought that matters?
That's exactly what they said in the card. It's the thought that counts, and I would agree with them. So, all right, Brenda, I think you talked about, or touched on a little earlier, this deal with needing to be right. And I fear that for as open-minded as many people perceive themselves to be, regardless of what they subscribe to, they're probably more of one of these things, or maybe something altogether different than another. And there's always a hands-on-hips moment with somebody saying, well, I'm right and you're not, or I'm more right than you are. So we've got to dispatch that, don't we? Because
I think that's probably always going to be there. I mean,
always?
Well, with the fundamental Christians, it's if they love you and they care and they're serving their God, then it's their obligation, their desire, some of them, to see that you see the way they believe, because they believe that's the only way. That's the one-way thing. I think when you get to the place where you're a little more open, or a lot more open, and you realize that everybody gets where they're going their way, and the more you put your hands on your hips, the more ridiculous you look. You go nowhere with the hands on the hip. It's only when you allow another person to breathe their own air, think their own thoughts, that you evolve, and you allow them to go the way they are going, and it's their choice.
I think we tend to pick on the Western religions a bit more than we do the others in the world as well. After all, the Christian faith only makes up, along with all of its subdivisions, about 25% of the world's faith structure. I mean, most of the people in the world are of other faiths, Hindi in particular, Muslim, Buddhist. There's quite a few of all of those too, along with some others that are a bit smaller as far as the range is concerned. So you have to ask yourself, what would each of these do? And we've done this sort of in a comical way before. If the Greys park themselves at a mosque or at a synagogue or at the church that's up the street and they hop out and wander in, what's going to be said to them? Now I'm thinking they're going to be offered some shares in OPEC for sure. I know that they're probably going to be dining on at least one knish before it's all over.
They're
So.
going to be asked to leave if they're in a certain
See, there's people out there right now that are saying, kill this man, he's poison, he's bad. And we're just having fun with it. I think it's so great to celebrate our differences. And we say that, and I think we say that, and then we don't really mean it. Because it's some t-shirt sale or something that we're doing that people have almost forced us to do. Well, it's Let's Be Together Day, and it's not. I mean, let's really celebrate the differences that are not only making up all of us on the outside. I think we're past that, aren't we? Let's start celebrating the differences about how we are on the inside. We'll be able to search twice as well for some of these answers we're wanting so bad.
It's very hard when you think that the other person is not going to go to hell or not going to make it. Now, I have a question to ask you, and I really don't know the answer. Is the Christian religion the only one that has missionaries? Goes out and taps.
You know, I don't know the answer to that, Brenda. I'm so thankful that you lean on me to think that I would know the bastion of knowledge that I appear to be. So. Well, I have a direct link to Google. It's literally like in my ear, so someone types off Sasquatch.
You know.
Say Sasquatch. Say Sasquatch. No, don't say it like that. No, Ian.
It's gone.
I'm not sure, Brenda. I can't answer that for sure.
Well, it seems to me like, and I have not studied like you have the different religions or a lot of anything. I escaped school. That's why I like to think I can remember everything I need to know rather than learn it.
In a Starsky and Hutch kit car when she was younger. So.
Oh, hated that. Hated it. Hated it.
Oh, my mom wouldn't let me watch that show.
Really?
Yeah. Of all the things she did let me watch between ages 5 and 11, that was not one of them. I don't understand why.
Kids love that.
I know where you're going here, I think I do, which is they're the only ones that are rustling up in everybody's business around the world trying to tell you how to think, right?
Well, and it's with genuine, I mean, I think it's with concern.
I'm sure it is.
And,
I can't speak on behalf of any of these religions because I don't know what it's like to be them because I'm not.
Well,
them. I'm not
I've
from
been
that
there
faction.
and I questioned it even then. If their lives are, you know, if you want to go build a well or a house or a school, fine, go do that. But should be no strings attached. Why who are you saving him from? Because it's worked for him for years and years and years. And why do they have to believe? There is one God with lots of faces, lots of different appearances. Does it all have to be the same? I like the idea of celebrating the differences.
Well, not even celebrating, but just almost, could we get to a point of acceptance? Yeah, could we get to a point of tolerance even for the fact that my neighbor thinks something a little differently than I do?
Well, only if it's really close to it, I think.
Well, exactly, you know, I mean, otherwise, forget it. I'm not making the potato salad and, you know.
Hey, I am the worst offender in the world. I became so anti-organized religion that my mom and dad, being really good Southern Baptists, when I went back and met their family and whatever, I had to practically duct tape my tongue to the roof of my mouth to keep from going, what the heck are they talking about? But it was a long, hard lesson for me, and I finally realized that was what gave them comfort, and that's where they were. And I was as big a jerk as anybody I accused anybody else of being by getting in the way of any of that. That's none of my business.
Well, what I find interesting is that, you know, even if it isn't supposed to be a part of what you're to seek out. I mean, you have counseled many times over the years and still are currently with people who would be of extreme, I think, religious belief, and not extreme to say that they're extremists in any way that could be measured. I'm just saying that they have a tremendous connection to a faith system that would probably tell them within the pages of its doctrines, stay away from anyone who is a woogie like Brenda, who does psychic readings, because all of those people are supposed to be stacked up, and they're no good. They're witches. They're trying to lead you into deception. There's only one person to listen to. There's only one God to listen to. And yet those people are poking around with this stuff, and that's fine. I'm not saying that, see, you're not as faithful as you think you are. What I'm saying is that I think we're all curious about what the other person is thinking and feeling. So what we have to go is we have to go to what everybody we know probably is thinking and feeling that is good. And one of the questions that I had, they didn't explore on this whole big balloon blow-up thing about, God and trying to explain it with a mathematical equation, or, then they've got the preacher who was brought in, the theologian, the scholar who's got the white collar and everything, saying, well, then explain this to me, and offering the other side of that equation. I'm thinking, what about music? What about the experience of something that's truly inspiring? Have you ever had a chill go down your spine because of a song that you love? We've all had that happen. Now, where does that come from? I don't think that can be measured with math, and if it can, I don't really care about it, because I don't think that it can't be measured with that. I don't have children, don't really prefer that whole wing of things, but, people that do. What about holding a child in your arms for the first time that belongs to you, that you made with someone else? The experience of loving something, an animal even, loving another person. None of those things I don't think have a math equation that can be attached to them. So,
well, I think they've discovered that they actually might.
Do they?
Haven't you heard that?
I don't think so.
I don't know. I'm not. They may be able to.
I know we're told that there are a rush of chemical endorphins that make you feel happy when you hear the Robert Plant song and you're in concert and you've got the lighter in the air and you don't even feel it burning your thumb because, yeah. I don't think so, Brenda. I think those kinds of things are truly there as a testament to the fact that we are attached to something that is incredible. And
absolutely, I agree.
I prefer to believe that without going any further than that, just saying that,
When you talk about the different people that I counsel with and then come to me, it's the one thing that's always said is that I believe in a God, source, energy, and whatever face that has, I respect. And after they talk to me a little bit, I've never had anybody feel uncomfortable. I've had a lot of people cancel because a minister told them not to come. Just had that happen recently. It was very satanical, and they should not come near me, which was just fine. They have people do what they have to do. I'm okay with that.
Now, you just mentioned something that's pretty specific to one and only one wing of religion in the world. Please tell me there's not a devil, because we don't want to go there, do we? No, we're not going there. I don't want to go there.
Well, no. And when I was a kid, I was convinced there was a devil. I'd been told there was a devil, and I saw him when I went to sleep, so there was a devil. Do I think there's a devil now? Not in my particular life right now.
I remember the first time I saw the devil was at H&R Block when I went to file my taxes for the first time when I was 18 years old after I'd been working for a summer. Oh, horrible beast. Horrible.
Don't know.
Maybe someone will come to us one day and say, the devil's not real, but all those things in Ghoulies 1, 2, and 3, those are real. So it's close enough. That's what we got. So, Brenda, we've got to get to a few questions. I think this is one that we could dig at forever. Obviously, that's the idea. And I think, again, it would be nice to think that that is the idea. Because I love the journey. I love the exploration of all of this. And I think getting some answers for yourself along the way is exactly part of what we're doing here. And then also making sure that that bridge just keeps on going is another part of it too.
I think so. And, most of the people I see and my own particular journey has been discovering who I am and the God in me. And the more that I accept myself, the more open I am to whatever else is out there. I don't have the need to change except if I get really irritated with some of my mom and dad's friends in the South.
Yeah. Well, if you get a
That's my
chance
problem.
too.
That's my problem. It's not theirs.
I would say if you get a chance too, go if you can make a friend, or if you have an acquaintance at work who might be of a different faith structure. They might be a Jew or a Muslim or something. Ask if you could go with them maybe sometime to Mass or to whatever it is that they do that's symbolic of celebrating their existence here and being tied to whatever it is they believe in that's larger than us and binds us all together. It's a fascinating experience, and it gives you an inside look at what is really ticking maybe in someone else's world. And I feel like that's the perspective so many people in the world take, is one of ignorance. They just speak without knowing anything about what someone else might be thinking about, might have on their mind, in just even the most basic ways. I think in the United States as a whole, regardless of what religious scope you might be, if any at all, we're all guilty of that. We assume we know exactly what it may be like in the Middle East, in India, in Pakistan, in China. We don't know unless we go, unless we walk that for a little while at least, and I think it would behoove all of us to try.
I think that would be great, and if you can't do that, if you don't really know what you're talking about, and you're talking about something based on fear, that might be a good indication that you need to shut your mouth.
I was going to say, she took the long way around to get there, but if you don't really know what you're talking about, then just shut your mouth. Rush Limbaugh, 28 years and counting now, I think, or something like that with him. So,
I mean, if all you have to base anything on is what you've been told, keep it to yourself.
Well, don't keep your beliefs to yourself. Don't keep how you feel to yourself, because I think that's what we want out there. I think that's what we want to get shared. Even if it seems like a repugnant idea to some of you. I mean,
only if it agrees with what I'm thinking.
That's so the reason why so many of us don't speak what's on our mind is because, well, it may not be what they're thinking.
That's
so
a good idea.
Yeah.
I would say, keep me happy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like being in the back seat of that car that you're in to go rob the bank. So, do you guys want to stop for some pancakes real quick? There's an IHOP right there. Get out the car, man.
We need an IHOP, don't we?
One or two questions here, Brenda, and we'll let's go to some of these bottom ones. These top ones are pretty heavy, and I'd like to finish up, I guess, on a somewhat lighter note, so we'll save those for another time. Questions can be gotten to Brenda Burgett through the website, and that's fine, Shuffy, to say gotten, isn't it?
Is that a real word?
I think we can get them over to her. Be bridgingthegaptv.com, or Brenda, your website also can be reached via bridgingthegapwithbrenda.com. On YouTube, it's bridgingthegapOnTV.com, and you can find ways to email us there too. So, Brenda, you ready for the first of these one, maybe two questions? The first of these one questions?
These, yes.
I believe it. Do you believe in astro travel? This person asks. I dream everything. I dream every night that I am flying. I wake up feeling that I have been to wonderful places. That's good. Do you have any insight about why I may do this? Is it real? And am I losing my mind? I'd like to think they're not losing their mind.
Well, if you're losing your mind, it's a good thing. Lose your mind and astral travel, of course, it's real. Don't you astral travel?
I can't say that I've astral traveled a lot.
But you have.
I think I've had some out-of-body experiences.
Yes.
That would be OOBs to people like... Who was the... Shuffy, wake up. Who's the EVOO girl? Who is that? I never remember her name.
Carrie.
No.
There's a Carrie that does that too.
No, it's that girl. We can't think of her right now. We should. I'm really sorry. Rachel Ray. That's what Rachel Ray calls them. They're OOBs.
Ah.
She takes a little extra EVOO in the evening and has OOBs like you wouldn't believe. So.
Okay.
Yeah. You have them all the time. In fact, you've professed to us here on this forum many times that that's really what you do in lieu of dreaming, you feel, is astral travel.
I think so. And also, when I meditate, I astral travel sometimes. I love it. It's my drug of choice.
So the thing about this question that gets me thinking, Brenda, is the question that they ask that's very brief, saying, is it real? And I would argue that, well, if you just have a dream, no matter how wacky it may seem, it was real enough for you to be able to think it or go someplace within the recesses of your mind or to a parallel existence in the overnight time when your body's at rest to be able to experience it. So how couldn't it be real? How couldn't all dreams be real, no matter what you coin them as being on some level?
Well, you create your own reality. So when you're dreaming, aren't you creating some reality?
Something is.
They're saying something about this gal's question, though. There's a psychic answer coming in for her. And she does a lot of astral travel because she's extremely trapped in her everyday life. And there's some steps she could take, and they're probably leading her in that direction. There's a certain amount of fear. She's only free when she's asleep and traveling. So she might want to try some meditating and taking a look at where she's at. There is one person in her life that's not really serving her. She needs to give it some thought and make some decisions, see if that's what she feels like doing.
Okay, so you feel like she's having these feelings of astral traveling overnight or in her dream space for a reason, that they're actually trying to tell her something?
Absolutely. She's trapped. She's feeling like she can't get out of, she can't have the life she wants.
Okay. And we talked about dreams on a recent edition of Bridging the Gap, so you can backtrack to one of our more recent episodes and find out about what Brenda and I say about dreams and share with you as far as our thoughts on that. And I know we'll explore that in the future too. So Shafi just gave us a big 0, which means that we're out of time for this week, and I guess that's the way he wants it. So no second question? He's shaking his head no. I think we should ask another question.
I think we should.
I think we should. No. We don't ever honor the producer, ever. That's the first rule in television. You don't ever honor the producer, ever. You just, in fact, you get as many fired as you can. And then hang a bigger star on your door than each time a new one comes in. So, oh, he's giving us the pouty face. He's going to turn the camera off.
And now he wonders why you're my favorite, you know?
Oh, well, I was destined to happen anyway, so. Brenda, I want to ask this question, because we talked about grays, so let's do this. It's another dream question, and we're going to run extra time. You get bonus time on Bridging the Gap. Not that's unusual or anything like that. This one says, Brenda, I dream of grays, referring to the gray aliens, no doubt, often. They're standing over me, just looking over me, it seems. It's as though as they want me to talk to them or that they want to talk to me. Sometimes it frightens me. Sometimes I just look at them without any feelings at all. It happens often, and sometimes I dread going to sleep because it does happen often. Any ideas about how it might stop? And what are the spirits telling you about these encounters? Boy, that's cool stuff, because now we're wondering, because of all those magic toys the Greys have to kind of put you under like the dentist does, you know, when you go in for the real heavy work, whether it's real, like real, like, oh, I reached out and touched a Grey, or not really real. So, what are you getting?
Well, this is probably going to sound typical coming out of my mouth. Very,
No such thing.
very, very definitely has she an association with the Greys. And they are probably a big part of why she's here.
Okay.
It is a female. And they do check in and they do figure out the reason it frightens her sometimes is that she's trying so hard not to be associated with them. Are they going to hurt her? No. Are they going to observe her until she bores them? And that happens, and then they move on to something else.
It's kind of like the week you spend in Amway. You try really hard to act like you're not associated with them, but you aren't. It's just the way it is. So.
Okay, shall I turn you into a frog?
I'm just trying to parallel it so people will understand out there. They say,
Yeah,
well, what are you
that's
talking?
right.
What is she saying,
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
exactly? So.
Yeah.
There was an interesting abduction case, Brenda, and it wasn't so much an abduction case as it was, I guess, an encounter that took place in North Carolina, I believe it was, in Fayetteville, around there, between a man who I saw interviewed on television, who was supposed to have come into contact with a very small extraterrestrial and had a missing time and orange balls that were hovering over the horizon, all the classic syndromes, all the things that go along with a close encounter of the third kind. And they put him under hypnosis and asked him about this, and one of the things that came out during his hypnosis session was he asked them in total fear, I mean traumatized, because he did not know who they were, why are they here? And they said, because you belong to us, because we're your people, and you're sad, and we're coming back to check on you because We felt that you were sad and you need us. And I was like, man, I wish I had that kind of star power over me. And I kind of think I might, but I'm not sad all that
I
often.
kind of think you might too.
But that was really cool. So the same thing here, maybe?
Exactly the same thing. And I know somebody, I'm very close to someone who's had encounters with grays their whole life. And
That's right.
are they a part of that whole thing? Absolutely. I bet my life on it.
Well, don't bet your life.
Thanks.
Especially after what we talked about today. So,
I'm ready to go.
phone's going to be ringing off the hook anyway, so. Brenda, I think we're done.
We're done.
Well, okay, we'll let Shuffy off the hook now. So
Yeah,
Shuffy's
no.
happy with us. Like, yeah, we're done. We're sure. He wants his biscuit, so get his biscuit out. Where is it? Where's that box of treats anyway? So, again, we told you how to contact Brenda Burgett, psychic medium, experienced in all kinds of answering of all kinds of your questions. You can do that. Again, if you have questions maybe about just things in general that we might peruse here in the program, please give us a show idea. Maybe you want to render your opinion on something we've already talked about. We would welcome that as well. We want to really get as much in here as possible. So again, please contact with us, communicate with us through bridgingthegaptv.com or bridgingthegapwithbrenda.com. And again on Facebook, on YouTube, we're Bridging the Gap on TV as well. Brenda, it's good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Merry New Year again.
Next time we're going to talk about what our plans are. We have some things coming up.
Oh, our plans?
Mhm.
What are our plans?
We're going to have, we'll talk later.
Oh, I don't know our plans. She'll talk about it. I'll listen. So.
No, you already know. We're going to do that. It's over.
No, it's not. I haven't signed off yet.
Oh, sorry.
Stop letting him do this. So we're going to talk about stuff I don't know about next time, and that's the idea every time around on the show. I'm Ian Hansen along with Brenda Burgett. Until the next time, enjoy your existence, folks. That's a wrap. We'll see you later. Goodbye. Toodaloo. Go with God. Don't take any wooden nickels. Shalom. See you later. Bye-bye.
Lord, just take me